جلتے ہوئے زمین پر اپنا لہو بہاؤ، تم دونوں سر کٹانے اکبر سے پہلے جاؤ۔ عاشور کی یہ شب ہے، بے جانے ہے سکینہ سے غربی جاں بلب ہے، آل نبی ہے پیاسی، آل نبی ہے پیاسی، اے آن محمد
محمد
پر بھی جان دے گا، باس قتل ہوگا اصغر بھی جان دے گا، مرنا ہے کل تمہیں بھی، مرنا ہے کل تمہیں بھی، اے کون محمد دم بہاؤ گے تم، ہے خدا میں اپنے جب سر کٹاؤ گے تم، شکر خدا کروں گی، شکر خدا کروں گی، اے کون محمد دیکھتی رہوں گی، آؤ گے زخم جب تم پیچھے نہیں ہٹوں گی، بیٹی ہوں میں علی کی، بیٹی ہوں میں علی کی، اے کون محمد رات آخری تھی، بیٹوں سے ماں کی تحویل، یہ بات آخری تھی، رکھ لینا لاج میری، رکھ لینا لاج میری، اے کون محمد
حياتنا مماتنا عزاؤنا لم نكن نبكي على طفل رضيع بل طفولات مدى الدنيا.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يسبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض الملك القدوس العزيز الحكيم. هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين. وآخرين منهم لما يلحقوا بهم وهو العزيز الحكيم. ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم مثل الذين حملوا التوراة ثم لم يحملوها كمثل الحمار يحمل أسفارا بئس مثل القوم الذين كذبوا بآيات الله والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين قل يا أيها الذين هادوا إن زعمتم أنكم أولياء لله من دون الناس فتمنوا الموت إن كنتم صادقين ولا يتمنونه أبدا بما قدمت أيديهم والله عليم بالظالمين قل إن الموت الذي تفرون منه فإنه ملاقيكم ثم تردون إلى عالم الغيب والشهادة فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون وإذا رأوا تجارة أو لهوا انفضوا إليها وتركوك قائما قل ما عند الله خير من اللهو ومن التجارة والله خير الرازقين صدق الله العلي العظيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد عجل فرجه
محمد وآل محمد صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد عجل فرجه فضا نے کہا نو محمد گئے مارے دریا کے کنارے ماموں پہ فدا ہو گئے زینب کے دلارے دریا کے کنارے سن کر یہ صدا ثانی زہرا یہ پکاری اماں گئی واری پیاسے ہی میرے لاڈلے دنیا سے سدھارے دریا کے کنارے دیکھیں گے نہ پانی کی طرف آنکھ اٹھا کے وعدہ تھا یہ ماں سے شہزادوں نے دم توڑ دیا پیاس کے مارے خیمے میں ابھی لانے کی جلدی نہیں لوگوں، اکبر سے یہ کہہ دو بچوں کو میرے بھائی کا صدقہ تو اتارے، دریا کے کنارے۔ یاد آ گیا مسلم کے پسر بے کس و مضطر، برپا ہوا محشر، قاتل نے جو سر اون و محمد کے اتارے، دریا کے کنارے۔ اچھا ہے کہ سوتے رہے ہوں خاک پہ رکھے، سائے میں علم کے عباس کے قدموں میں رہے لال ہمارے، دریا کے کنارے۔ گھر لٹ گیا زینب پہ قیامت کی گھڑی ہے، خاموش کھڑی ہے، سنتا نہیں کوئی وہ کسے جھاکے پکارے، دریا کے کنارے۔ فضا نے کہا اون و محمد گئے مارے، دریا کے کنارے۔ ماموں پہ فدا ہو گئے زینب کے دلارے، دریا کے کنارے، دریا کے کنارے۔ رحم اللہ من يقرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة۔
حسین یا ابا عبد اللہ یا حسین یا ابا عبد اللہ یا حسین۔
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم اخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم واكرمنا بنور الفهم، اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا من خزائن علومك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. My brothers and my sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My condolences to all of you on the martyrdom of Abu Abdullah Hussain alayhi salam and all of the shuhada that were with him. This year has been a different year, personally speaking. And I wanted to begin this lecture and this series with these experiences, because I believe that we all need these reminders to keep us in touch with reality and what's happening around us. For the last week, I have not given majalis the way that I would usually give on these days and on these nights. I have been doing so for the last 7 or 8 years. So this was the first time that I was not going to give these majalis. And I was going to experience Muharram in a different way. As an attendee, I am in Lebanon at the moment, and I am working on the ground. And I figured, let me try to serve a different way. Let me try to serve the people through means of charity and volunteering. This is something I wanted to do. And I was requested by my good friend to give these majalis, and I figured there's a reason why it happened in this way, and so I agreed to do them. Thank you for listening. So what I wanted to begin with was, I intend in these next few nights to speak truly from my heart, because this is what the theme will be. It's a revival of the heart, because so many hearts around us die, and so many of our own hearts die and we don't know. I'll begin with what I have been seeing on the ground. The reason why I'm here and volunteering is because right now in Lebanon, I am Lebanese, but of course we look more towards the fact that we are Shia brothers and sisters rather than different nations. So I'm sure that you can relate to the suffering and plight of the people here. In the same way we relate to our Shia brethren in all the different countries in Pakistan, Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Syria, and every other country that we have our brothers and sisters who are suffering. Over here, you'll find that people's hearts, because of this suffering, they begin to tremble. Many people are suffering very, very harshly. There is a lack of all human necessities. It's been described by the World Bank as one of the 3 worst economic crises in 150 years. Fuel has almost run out, so there is no electricity. And when there's no fuel, you can't run anything. So literally this week, hospitals have closed down. Hospitals had to remove their patients because there's no electricity to run the hospital. There's no fuel to run the water pipes. So there's no water going into people's homes. Literally every 2 days, I have to find some way in order to get water to my house for my family to have water. Right now, I'm using the lights from a battery that I purchased so that we can use, so we can see. All of these things are happening to the people here for a reason. Bread ran out yesterday. No longer do people have bread. And this is on top of the fact that the currency has become 1/20th of its worth 2 years ago. So people are still getting paid in their usual currency. So it means nothing. People can't afford nappies and they can't afford anything else. The reason why I bring this to your attention is because when you live this on the ground, it's very different. And I can see you guys must feel my energy even from over there at how in pain I am at what I'm seeing. And I wanted to share this with you because sometimes this pain is the beginning of reviving the heart. Not only that, but also asking yourself where you stand in the situation. So, when the hearts begin to tremble, that's also a sign that the heart is not truly flourishing with Allah. When I say tremble, I mean give up. I mean when the heart feels like it can no longer carry on in aiding the people, in thinking about their plight, in giving whatever it is that you can. And I don't mean money. I don't mean money. I mean contribution. I mean time. I mean energy. I mean knowledge, knowing about the political situations around here, because a lot of this is tied into Islam and Islamic points within politics, globally speaking. Because, of course, all of these things are happening because of colonial sanctions on the country and on its people. Because people are not allowed to be independent in this world. So, long story short, people are suffering from not having food, water, electricity, all of this, because they do not want to be controlled. They don't want to stand down to powers that be. That's long story short. Of course, it's a lot more difficult to explain, but I'm sure if you guys do your research and read, you will know why the situation is happening. It's happening, similar situations across the world. It's just that I'm living this one right now. And I'm literally seeing in front of me the way people turn their backs on the cause. They turn their backs as if to say that Karbala was something that happened 1,400 years ago and it remains there. And they get upset. People get upset when you even try to suggest that there is any type of reenactment occurring today, when I believe, wallahi, billahi, tallahi, that it is. It's reenacting itself. And I have to ask myself every single day, if Imam Hussain alayhi salam was here or we were there, how would I have reacted really? Because I can really imagine some people, based on what I'm seeing, I can really imagine some people saying, okay, Imam, seriously, man, you're being really long right now. You really want to stand up to Yazid, and he's such a strong, powerful force, and you're just a bunch of, warriors with families. You're 70 people, and you're trying to make this revolution, or you're trying to make this rise, and please, we just want to eat. We want to eat. We want to live. Stop fighting. Stop trying to make a problem with Yazid. It is what it is. Yazid's there. Khalas. We always have to go back and forth. Just leave us alone. We don't want to do this. Stop dragging us into these long battles. This is the same rhetoric slowly coming onto the mouths of Shia, not only in Lebanon though. This is why this is relevant what I'm speaking about to you. It's not only in Lebanon, it's Shia outside of Lebanon that begin to read the situation in this way. Why? Because they no longer have trust. There's no longer trust towards the cause. People always now think this doubt that comes, people always think they're getting played somehow. But this is what I wanted to mention. If our hearts are going to remain in skepticism and doubt, and we don't know what we're living for, then what does it really mean when we are in the days and nights of Muharram and we remember Karbala and we cry for Imam al-Hussein? What does it mean for us? Overall, I want to understand, how does that affect your life now? What does that mean for you now? How does your life become any different in next week after Ashura? Did something change? Did a feeling or an opinion change? An action change? Or is it literally remembering a story and crying over it because you love him? Which is all well and good, but it can't remain a story. It's not a story. It's life. It's principles. It's values. And if you want to honor those values, you have to live by them, as difficult as it is. Which is why I'm here, and why when people ask me, why don't you go back? And why don't you leave? And a lot of people are leaving, and I don't blame them for that if they can, but a lot of people can't leave. A lot of people cannot leave. They don't have a passport to leave. So it becomes very difficult for me to want to leave. And I realized that me being here in these villages, I'm able to help. So maybe that's what I can offer. Just help, you know, gather food and everything and try to help people in whatever way I can. Maybe that's not enough, but I have to find out what I can contribute with. Likewise, everyone has to find out what they contribute with in these situations. But what I do know is I cannot fall for the ideas of an individualistic lifestyle where I don't think about these people. I don't think about this respectful teacher who should not be going through this respectful doctor who should not be going through this, and his family should not be going through this. They should be honored, they should be respected, but they're being humiliated because of the powers that be. And I cannot allow my heart to accept that. And you shouldn't either. On these days and on these nights, we are coming to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to revive us, revive these hearts. And we come after a year of maybe polluting our nafs. We come in the name of Hur ibn Yazid al-Riyahi, who is the symbol of all of us, who in every single day have to make a decision between haqq and batil. Even the small decisions. Do not underestimate the small decisions that you make day to day, because they will affect the heart in a way that you would never have anticipated. Hur was in the camp of Yazid, and he knew that he was the reason why Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam was cornered and without water. Imagine you know that you are the one responsible for Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam's ambush. And they ask him, how are you, O Hur, in his own camp, looking this pale when we know you to be a strong and decisive general? And he says, I'm choosing between my heaven and my hell, between salvation and damnation. Literally, the decision was maybe 5 minutes, 2 minutes, a decision that's going to alter his whole life, to the point that till now we remember his enemies and curse them, and we remember Hur and visit him and send our salutations and salams and pray for him. One decision, and he decides to go, and he takes his son and he rides towards Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam, and he gets down on his knees. Yeah, Imam, I bow my head to you, tie my hands, tie my feet. Forgive me for I have done. I am the reason why you're here. Is there a sin greater? Have any of us transgressed greater? Whoever you are and whatever you've done. I began this talk with ideas around perhaps politics, and political stances, but in everything, in personal sin, in everything that you are living right now. Did you go as far as to corner Abu Abdullah alayhi salam? Imam Hussain tells him, stand up. Hur, I forgive you, Allah has forgiven you. He says, let me go and speak to the Ahlul Bayt to ask them for forgiveness. He says, oh, you have my permission. He calls out to Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam in the tent and the woman in the tents and tells them, I am Hur, I am the reason you're here. Can you ever forgive me? They said, if Abu Abdullah has forgiven you, and he did, then we have forgiven you, O Hur. But you see, there was one more thing that he needed, because there was disappointment in himself. And this is where we begin, my brothers, my sisters. We have to have some form of disappointment in ourselves. We have to have husnul dhan billah, good opinion of Allah, and we have to live by love, and we have to go forward with positivity. But also, we cannot forget that the nafs is one that can never be trusted. And we have to be at some point disappointed with our progress in order to become better. He's still afraid of disappointment. So he says, please promise me one thing. Promise me that on that day, when I meet Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam on Yawm al-Qiyamah, you will not tell her that I was the reason. Because he fears the disappointment of Sayyidah Zahra. That's what we mean by fear. Khawf wa raja, hope and fear is the basis of our faith. We have to have utter hope in Allah, but also we have to have fear. And it doesn't mean fear that He's going to beat us, fear in disappointing Him. Fear in, we don't want to disappoint the one we love. They said, we will not tell Sayyid Zahra alayhi salam. This was emotional of her to ask for such a thing, because of course Sayyid Zahra will know, but he does not want to feel responsible anymore. He wants to give himself. So he decides to be the first to offer himself. Imam Hussain accepts. And Hur goes and is martyred with his son first. And when Imam al-Hussain sits next to him and says, you are Hur as your mother named you. You are free as your mother named you. And here's the point, freedom. Freedom comes from obedience to Allah. This line is a line I truly live by, and I really think that it's a basis of religion. You either follow a prophet or you make yourself a prophet. Which one? You follow a prophet or you make yourself a prophet. There is no third option. You either follow a path of Ahlul Bayt or you make your own path. I don't want to follow my own path because my own path leads me towards avenues which I believe are avenues of damnation. That's what I believe. And so I want to follow the Prophet's path. You have to ask yourself which path you're following, not which path you claim to be following. We might claim to be following the path of Abu Abdullah alayhi salam. We might claim Allahu Akbar, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. We might claim all these things. But that does not mean that you're following the actual path, because the path is based on values and principles. You have to live and honor those values and those principles, my brothers, my sisters. We have to honor them. Are we honoring them? In day-to-day life, in your stances. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. We have been blessed. Allah has sent us so many guides. Even in normal men and women around us that we see right now, even amongst you, I have met some of you, and I know how pure some of you are. And I know that those are signs for me as well. Inshallah, in the nights to come, I want to continue, maybe not as intense. Forgive me if I was, and if I have bothered you in any way. But it's important for us to realize that this is a battle. It's a battlefield. The battlefield of Hur was clear. The enemy was on the outside. Our battlefield, the enemy is not as clear. The outer enemy is hidden on the web. They are hidden in the streets. They are hidden within laws. And they are hidden within ourselves. It's a difficult battle, but you have to make a decision on that battlefield. And you have to think to yourself, what is your reply to Imam Hussain when he is going and gathering the people? And he says, I want you. And he says, no, Ya Hussain, take my horse. Take my money. No, I don't want your money. I don't want your horse. I want you. But they would not go. And Abu Abdullah alayhi salam remains alone in Karbala with thousands around him. Sallallahu alayka ya Sayyidi ya Mawlai ya Aba Abdullah. Sallallahu alayka ya Sayyidi wa ya Mawlai ya Ibn Rasulillah. Ya Madloom ya Gharib Karbala. يا ليتنا كنا معكم سيدي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. After all the companions of Imam al-Hussein had been martyred, and even Imam's beloved son Ali al-Akbar was martyred. One by one, the Banu Hashim went out to fight. Zainab sees her two brothers looking out towards an entire army, Hussein and Abbas. So she moves towards her sons, Aun and Muhammad. She kneels by their side, no older than the age of 10. And she says, my sons, I want you to go and be by your uncles. I want you to represent me in front of your uncles. So she brings them their helmets and their armors. The way the mother puts on the armor for her son, who is about to become a shaheed. They tell her mother, we will not disappoint you. She takes them by their hands towards Imam al-Hussein. She says, my brother, I want my sons to go out into the battlefield. He looks at them, his dear young nephews, and he says, my sister Zainab, what if their father would not approve? She says, their father is the one who told me when the time comes, give Aun and Muhammad to Hussein. The Imam takes Aun and Abbas takes Muhammad. They give them their final embrace and final piece of advice. And they put them onto their horses, and Abbas says to them, always protect your brother. Go to the end for your brother. Always be loyal to your brother. Aun and Muhammad ride into the battlefield, representing the aggression of Zainab bint Ali. As they begin to fight and the enemy surrounds them and splits them from each other, Aun falls off of his horse, and as he is surrounded, he calls out, Muhammad, my brother, come to my aid. Muhammad tries to go towards Aun. There are too many warriors around him, and he witnesses the swords and spears way down onto the small body of Aun. And Muhammad's brother dies before him, and he tries to fight by himself, and then Muhammad is laid down and calls out, to his uncle Hussain, Mawlay, adrikni, come to my aid. Imam al-Hussain and Abu Fadl ride towards the battlefield. They come towards the bodies of Aun and Muhammad, and they carry the small bloodied bodies back to the tents. The woman received the bodies and called out, Wa walada wa shahida. But Zainab was not amongst them. For every other shaheed on that day, Zainab was the first to receive the martyrs except for her son. She did not want Abu Abdullah to see her crying for her own son. Instead, she remained in the tent and prayed for Allah to accept her sacrifice. Ya Allah, تقبل منا هذا القربان. لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين إلى يوم القيامة. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون.
حب الحسين يجمعنا اس جوان کی مگر بات ہی اور ہے، اس جوان کی مگر بات ہی اور ہے، ناز ہر دو جہاں شیخ لشکر میں ہے، سارے شیر جہاں شیخ لشکر میں ہے، کتنے ابر و جواں شیخ لشکر میں ہے، کیسے کیسے جواں شیخ لشکر میں ہے، اس جوان کی مگر بات ہی اور ہے، ان میں ہے در کے سر وہ شہی خد بھی ہے، باغ مسلم کے سے وہ بہی خد بھی ہے، مادر حق کے لو زبر جد بھی ہے، یوں تو قاسم بھی نو محمد بھی ہے، اس جوان کی مگر بات ہی اور ہے، اس جوان کی مگر بات ہی اور ہے، کون ہے جاں کو جس نے وارا نہیں، کون ہے جو کہ آنکھوں کا تارا نہیں، کون ہے جو شہیدی کو پیارا نہیں، کس نے گھوڑے سے گر کر پکارا نہیں، اس جوان کی مگر بات ہی اور ہے، اس جوان کی مگر بات ہی اور ہے، کس نے شے سے بلاؤں کو ٹالا نہیں، خود کو دشمن کی فوج
जो मैं डाला नहीं। कौन है जो के घर का उजाला नहीं। कौन है जिसको ज़ैनब ने पाला नहीं। इस जवां की मगर बात ही और है। खा के तेग गिरे रन में क्या क्या हंसी। लाश पर जिनकी तन आ गए शाहिदी। कांप उठा फलक और लर्जी ज़मीं। बीबियां फिर भी खैमे से निकली नहीं। इस जवां की मगर बात ही और है। किसने ज़ख्म से ना दिल पे खाई नहीं। किसने सीने को छल्ली बनाया नहीं। किसकी लाश को शह ने उठाया नहीं। हाथ लेकिन बहन ने बटाया नहीं। इस जवां की मगर बात ही और है। रन में हर ऐसा था शीरी ज़बा जिसके लहजे पे दाऊद भी दे दे जा। इनमें जिसको भी कहते शहेन सजा। सुबह आशूर बढ़ के वो देता ज़ा। इस जवां की मगर बात ही और है। इस जवां की मगर बात ही और है। या हुसैन या हुसैन या हुसैन या हुसैन और मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु।
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. 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 اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا نبي الله. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء. السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى. السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى. السلام عليكم يا أئمة البقي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ونجعله الله آخر الأحد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين خصوصا سيدي ومولاي يا أبا الفضل العباس وأختك زينب وأم كلثوم وبنتك السكينة، السلام عليكم يا شهداء كربلاء والسامراء والقاذم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء السلطان أبا الحسن مولانا علي بن موسى الرضا، كن شفيعنا وشفيع والدينا في يوم الجزاء. السلام عليك يا فاطمة المعصومة ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا صاحب الزمان، السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن، السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليك يا كعبة الإيمان، السلام عليك يا إمامنا وإمام الإنس والجان، عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهور الأمر ورحمة الله وبركاته. سورة المباركة الفاتحة.
जलती हुई ज़मीं पर अपना लहू बहाओ, तुम दोनों सर कटाने अकबर से पहले जाओ। शूर की ये शब है